Well, good Monday morning to you, and welcome to our Monday morning edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Dr. Jim and Janine Fox of Doctor's Nutrition, located on Cowan Road in Gulfport, south of Pass Road. Now, to let you know that this morning's program was recorded at an earlier date and being rebroadcast today, so we do not have phone lines for you to be able to call in on this morning. But we've got a great show lined up for you this morning, and we still have a weekly special.
Yes, we do.
Yes. Well, anyway, this morning's subject is something that everybody thinks about. You love to cook with. You even probably have some growing in your own little garden outside, and that's herbs. You know, so there's so many different types of herbs we love to cook with. You know, all your recipes say use fresh cilantro or rosemary or whatever, and a lot of people love to be able to just go right out in their little garden. I know y'all do it all the time.
We do it. We have lots of it.
This unbelievable herb garden in their backyard. But what exactly are herbs?
Well, they're basically plants, okay? And the various plants, I mean, when you think of herbs, most people think of something like cilantro, you mentioned, you know, that, or rosemary or something, but there's all sorts of herbs. Things that people don't think about, like, you know, here in the South we do a lot of it, that's iced tea. Tea is an herb. It's a plant that's an herb, and it can even have a medicinal value. We'll talk about that in a little bit, about it. One of the extracts from tea that you can get is something that it can actually be valuable to us in that way. But they're just plants, and like you said, they're used as spices, and you know that's a big deal. Sometimes people, well, what's the difference between an herb and a spice? They're the same thing. It's just how you use it, you know.
One's dried, one's not.
Well, yeah, something like that.
And some herbs taste terrible, so you wouldn't want to cook with them.
Exactly.
So it just depends on what it is.
Then why are they there?
For other medicinal purposes.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
Because if you think about it, years and years ago, in the olden days, that was people's medicine.
Yeah.
I mean, that was your medicine, was your herbs.
If you go back 5,000 or so years, you know, give or take a few hundred, you know, Hippocrates was here, and his famous saying was, you know, let your food be your medicine, and let your medicine be your food. And there you go. So, you know, it made sense. You know, that's all they had to. They didn't have the pharmacy down the street, so they had to use, you know, the plants and so on. And people cooked with them. They prepared meals, and a lot of that they did, you know, kept the meals safe to eat. A lot of it kind of prevented some of the foodborne illnesses that may have, you know, been around, and they didn't know that, but at the time. Because of their herbs and spices that they were using to cook, kind of helped keep them healthy.
Yeah, some of the big ones is garlic. Is a big antibacterial.
There's hardly any dish that I cook that doesn't have some fresh garlic in it.
Yeah, you got to have garlic.
So
start with garlic.
I do a steak and it's got garlic in it.
Right.
But it's antibacterial. It's also antifungal. There's so many benefits.
Enough, it's anti-friend.
It's also, but it's also
that's true.
Parasites, so it helps parasites. So there's a lot of things. And another big one that you see a lot of the antibacterial, antifungal is oregano. And that's one reason why we stress, if you can, grow your own herbs. Because the problem with some of the spices that you use to cook with, they may have been bottled 6 years ago.
Right.
So your active ingredients in those herbs was gone long before.
Well, you go in a store, you go in a grocery store, and you'll see, as you mentioned, you see spices and stuff that are in there, and you can buy them by the bottle and this and that and the other thing. A lot of them have preservatives in them.
Oh yeah,
that's possible.
Things like that that is not natural.
Anti-caking agents they have to put with them to keep them sticking together. Because just like garlic powder and onion powder is horrible about that. I mean, because it does become hard like a rock if it stays in there too long.
Now there are some that, and I can't name names, and this is a good thing, but some that I use all the time for seasoning some chicken, made locally actually, and you get down a little ways and it does start caking.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have to
chop it up.
Sit there and chop it up just a little bit, you know, if I season chicken with it or meat or whatever, anything else like that. And it's great. Yeah. But, you know,
and around here, a lot of our herbs are so easy to grow. I mean, there's areas, even this winter, ours lived through the winter, a lot of them. Believe it or not, we had herbs through the winter this year because we had such a mild winter.
Right.
So, but, you know, parsley. I mean, you go get a little bunch of parsley at the grocery store and you pay quite a bit for it. You plant that stuff, it'll go crazy.
That and rosemary too.
Our rosemary bushes are huge.
Oh, I know. I was at a place here recently, a new place over in Pass Christian, and they had rosemary bushes forever in the backyard. It's like pull one of those up, throw in the back of my truck, into the house, and replant that.
You should get it cutting off of ours. Ours is like a strong rosemary plant.
Is it really?
It really
I'll
is.
have to do that.
I mean, it really is.
Because I've got the perfect little bay window in my kitchen.
Perfect place.
I have nothing in there except,
you know. And you can get you a little flower pot, you know, just a small. It doesn't take a real big one, And you can buy some organic dirt at like one of the big box stores, you know, that you get to organic dirt. Plant your herb, whether it's oregano or any of those things. Basil's just, I mean, basil will go crazy.
Yep.
So plant that, and you got a bay window, put it in that sunny window, and keep it watered, and you've got, you know, fresh herbs to pick and to cook with. And I promise you, once you use fresh, you won't want anything else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like even like parsley has such a detoxification property. So, you know, you can actually just chew on fresh parsley, and they've always used it to freshen breath. It's one of the things you can do to freshen your breath is actually chew on some parsley.
Really?
So, but it's a detoxifier.
Yeah.
And so there's things that you can do with the herbs other than just cook with them. You can actually just chew on them a little bit here and there, and some of them taste really good. Like I said, there's some herbs out there, I mean, that we'll use, and we'll talk about some of them that are specifically for different things, like an olive leaf extra. An olive leaf, you really wouldn't want to chew on it because it's really bad tasting. So some of those have medicinal purposes, but you surely wouldn't cook with them because of taste. But there's a lot of them you do. And what we've always told people about herbs, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, which we've talked about in previous shows, they're essential. I mean, a lot of those you have to live. Herbs are not essential for life. You're not going to be deficient in an herb. But herbs are used more like medicine because you're never going to be deficient in a medication. It's more to treat a problem, and that's kind of how herbs are. And if you think about it, almost all of our medicines back in olden times come from plants.
Well, I mean, like you were talking about a few moments, you know, several thousand, you know, or even just a few hundred years ago.
Yeah.
You know, the pioneers and stuff, the way they used to, they had stuff out in the yards, or
They'd
they'd go out
pick
in the, they'd go out in the woods, and they knew what to look for.
Yeah.
You know, as far
We have people all the
used.
time tell us that their grandma or you know one of their older relatives used to go out in the yard and make this concoction, and I'd drink it and everything would be better, and I wish I'd have asked them what it was. I hear that from so many
We
people
hear it a lot,
because
yeah.
it didn't get passed down a lot.
Well, you mentioned tea. You know, my grandmother used to, if you know, got stung by a wasp or something, she'd take a tea bag, soak it real good, and put it on there.
It does help.
And it
pulls
the poison and everything out of there.
And you can, some tobaccos do the same thing. So, and which is, tobacco actually is an herb too. It's just right now the tobacco that everybody has is so processed and added 300 chemicals to it. So it's a little bit different than it used to be. When they used to grow tobacco plants, it was actually, it's an herb as well.
Yeah. They go. You can see the old pictures of them, how they'd have the tobacco plants laid out in barns or hanging out, hanging up in barns and everything back when it was more natural than anything.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
So anyway, okay, we're talking about herbs this morning, and again, we're mentioning that our phone lines are not open because this program for today was actually taped at an earlier date for rebroadcast on this day. So taking a little vacation time off. But we're going to be right back to talk more about herbs and your health on our Monday morning edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy. And welcome back to our Monday morning edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Drs. Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors Nutrition, located on Cowan Road in Gulfport, south of Pass Road. They are open Monday through Friday from 10 till 5:30, Saturdays 11 to 2. Jim and Janine are there Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Dr. Mays is there on Wednesdays and Fridays. And remind you again that today's program was pre-recorded at an earlier date. That's why we cannot take your phone calls on this today.
But we might tell them, so, though, Jim, you know, because we can't take calls on this show, next week we're going to have a show where we can have them call in with questions about
It's going to be a
herbs.
continuation of herbs, but it's going to be an open line.
That's Memorial Day. We will be in here Memorial Day morning.
Right.
And it's going to be an open line on herbs because so many people have questions on herbs. We get probably more herbal questions than anything. So that way we're going to have a whole show just to answer questions.
These two have my dream kitchen in their home. And I know you cook a lot, and I know you cook using a lot of herbs.
I do.
Oh, we do.
So we're going to give you a little bit of lesson on that too, and you know herbs that are good for certain different things and how you use them and everything. So that'll be Memorial Day that Monday morning. We will be back in here live. Herbs are natural.
Yeah.
They can't hurt you, right?
Well, you know, it's like anything's natural. You know, cocaine's natural too, but it can hurt you.
It can hurt you, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with herbs. You know, most of them pretty doggone good for you in some ways. But if you overdo it, it's just like anything. You know, you can overdo it, and it could cause problems. Or, for instance, if you're taking a medication, certain medications and certain herbs don't mix too well. So you really kind of need to
kind of like garlic.
I don't imagine it would be really life-threatening, but it might make you sick.
Well, it depends on what it is. It really does depend on what it is. Like tobacco can make you sick if you. I mean, like we just talked about it. Some of the ones that we don't suggest people doing, like tobacco and you know, that can make a difference. But even some of your herbals, you got to look at like hawthorn. Hawthorn is one that's commonly used for blood pressure, but you can't take it with digoxin, which is a
It's a medication.
It's actually a medication that originally came from foxglove, which is another plant. Now, foxglove itself, you just take a bunch of foxglove, it can make you sick because digoxin's a very strong drug, and they actually, got it from foxglove. So there's some plants that are actually poisonous at some levels. Mistletoe, for instance.
Oh, well, yeah.
No, we have a mistletoe extract.
Really?
Yes, we do, and it does lower
Found a big
blood.
clump of mistletoe
No, it
in my backyard a couple of weeks
but
ago.
actually, if you just do too much mistletoe, it makes you very sick.
Very toxic.
But it actually lowers blood pressure really good.
Really?
But it's something that you don't want to just go out and take a bunch of. So there are no doubt herbs. Now, some of them are really safe. I've never seen somebody probably take too much oregano. I really haven't. I mean, I haven't seen turmeric is another one that we do pretty high doses on, even in the extracts, and it's safe.
Well, backing up a little bit to the mistletoe, I know a lot of people think, well, I got mistletoe on my tree, because if you ever drive down the road and you see up in a tree this really dark clump of stuff, that's mistletoe. And mistletoe is actually a fungus.
It is.
Right, but I don't suggest.
No, don't go out and just because there's different types of mistletoe. Some of them are completely.
That's what I was going to say. Do not go.
No, some
because we used to do that. We
mistletoes-
go shoot it out of the trees with a BB
around
gun or
Christmas
something like
time,
that.
Now,
yeah.
some are completely poisonous, even with low doses. Now, the one we use is a European mistletoe, which is actually can be ingested at very low amounts, but you have to be very careful in dosing. So what I'm saying is don't just go out, and especially on those plants that you've heard of being poisonous.
And especially don't get them around your pets.
Yes.
Because this is very, very deadly for, the mistletoe is very, very deadly for your pets.
There's a lot of things that are deadly for your, a lot of plants. And so, then all your plants are considered herbs, but sago palms are horrible for animals if they eat them. Hopefully if your animals don't eat them, but you don't know how many people come in that their animal has ingested sago palm and actually has liver failure. So you see a lot. So even if a person, I've never had a person eat a sago palm, but it's possible that it would do the same. It do the same stuff to us. Exactly, it might do the same thing to
In
us.
some cultures, they actually do. It's called hearts of palm that they actually do. But it's a certain time and a certain place and a certain thing. They
well, you can actually buy that in stores, and cook with it. Hearts of palm. I learned from the two of you as well, because I love artichokes.
Yes.
It's the hearts of artichokes or the
Your bottoms.
The
We
bottoms
told you
of
to get the
artichokes.
bottoms.
I knew it was one of the anatomies. I couldn't think of it, but the bottoms of the artichokes are really, really good.
Wonderful.
Cook with those.
Yeah, it's actually that's what you really cook with. A lot of the artichoke is wasted, but that bottom is what you
artichoke
want.
hearts, they're okay. I mean, they're good. I'll admit that. But the bottoms, much, much better.
Yeah.
Much, much better.
They really are. So, like I said, plants are herbs. And people don't always think about it that way. But all your
poison
plant,
ivy is an herb too.
Yeah, it's all considered herbs. So yes, you can get poison.
you don't want
can
that.
get some that are poisonous, and that's one of the things we want to report out. Not all herbs are safe.
Yeah.
Now some, and even like garlic, which everybody cooks with garlic, but like if you're on a blood thinner, it can thin your blood extra. And it can actually make your blood too thin if you're already on a blood thinner.
Now, if you're just cooking with a small amount of it, it's
Small
probably not
amount
going to hurt
cooking,
you.
it's okay.
But if you
but
start taking
it in pill form, it's actually you get too much.
Yeah.
So you just have to know what you're taking and why you're taking it and what can combine with what medications you're taking. And that's one of the things that we help a lot of people with.
I was going to say, we get an awful lot of calls about that. Well, I'm taking this medication,
Can
can
I
I
take
take
this?
so-and-so?
Right.
And we're glad to give you that, give you that advice, because there's certain herbs and certain medications that don't mix. And there are a lot of times if you're trying to do something like that, there may be something else that you can take, that an herb, but
Well, that's why they ask you whenever you come into to visit them. There is be sure you bring your blood work. And also bring a list of the medications that you're taking.
Right, definitely.
Consultations are free when you go see the doctors at Doctors Nutrition. Consultation is free. You don't need an appointment, but bring all that with you, because you may go in, oh, I heard somebody say I need to take more of this. Fine, but what else are you taking right now?
Right.
We have that all the time.
We have people come in and a friend told them to take this, and I'm like, no, you're on that medication, you can't take that.
Right.
And they're like, why not? I was like, you just can't. They don't mix. And so you do have to know what to take. You can't just go randomly take.
Because I take a blood thinner. I mean, I take a baby aspirin every evening.
Yeah, now that's a mild blood thinner. So garlic's probably not going to hurt with that, especially if you do the 81 milligram.
That's what I do.
Right.
That's a good one.
But like say, coumarin is a very common one that we see a lot of people on, or warfarin. And garlic definitely with that one can cause problems.
It changes it big time, yeah.
So you just have to be careful with
Yes, you just got to be careful because you don't want to bleed to death.
Right.
And so a lot of herbals, especially some of your anti-inflammatory herbals, are slightly blood thinners. So you got white willow bark. White willow bark is equivalent to a natural aspirin. It even has salicylates, which aspirin is the salicylic acid. And it thins the blood just like aspirin. So you would never want to take white willow bark with a blood thinner.
or even with aspirin.
Yeah, or with aspirin,
You
because
just
it's
be
going to
getting
make it
too much.
stronger.
Yeah.
And white willow bark works great, and we have it in quite a few products, but it is one that you don't want to take if you're already on blood thinners.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, we are talking about herbs this morning and the benefits of them for you. And again, this program is pre-recorded from an earlier date, and we will be back next Monday on Memorial Day live to talk more. But we'll be back in just a moment. Just stay tuned for this week's special. And welcome back to our Monday morning edition of Healthy Living South Mississippi. Live healthy, be healthy with Dr. Jim and Janine Fox of Doctors Nutrition on Cowan Road in Gulfport. A reminder again that this program was pre-recorded at an earlier date, so we are not live this morning, but of course still passing on some wonderful information to you. This week's special, I guess it's an herb.
It is. It's
Yeah,
two,
how about
it's two
that?
herbs.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. Now, the first one is Telomere Pro. Now, Telomere Pro is an extract of astragalus. And I'm sure a lot of people out there have heard about astragalus.
Of course I have.
This particular, yeah, right, it is. Well, it is pretty popular in the herbal thing. But the Telomere Pro is an extract. It's called astragaloside 4. And actually, the telomere is the little thing that's on the end of our chromosomes, and it shortens as we age. Well, this particular astragaloside 4 shows to stop that shortening or slow it down, and in some cases, it's even reversed it and made the telomere longer.
So it is an anti-aging.
Anti-aging thing.
Oh, I gotta write this one down.
Powerful.
So
Yeah,
it's
write that one down.
It's anti-aging.
I'll be over
Yeah.
there after the show. And
Yeah.
Now, the next-
telomere.
The other one is milk thistle, and milk thistle is just one of the one of the most widely known about milk thistle and your liver. And it is. It's a great herb for the liver. It protects the liver. They say it's the most protective herb for the liver, and it helps with detoxification of the liver too. So wonderful drug.
Yeah, we just thought milk thistle would be one that anybody could just about take. 'Cause
Yeah.
we
Now,
unfortunately
the
live.
telomere, can pretty much anybody take that too?
Yeah.
or-
They do recommend further studies. Studies are being done right now about cancer.
Right.
Because they find that it proliferates cells to actually keep the telomeres longer, which means make cells divide, which actually helps with aging and helps with repair. But they're not sure if you have cancer. If it makes cells grow, will it make that grow? They think no.
Okay.
But they say until there's further testing to be 100% sure, they don't recommend it with cancers.
Right.
Okay.
So.
All right. Herbs and
Or one other group of people, I'm sorry, I just thought
Go
about
right
it.
ahead.
Anybody with an organ transplant.
Yes.
It's definitely been shown to boost the immune system, and you never want an immune booster if you've had an organ transplant. So, of course, I mean, I hope that's not a lot of people out there, but
There
quite
may
a
be
few are
somebody,
getting
yeah.
exactly. There's people listening that probably do have an organ. You cannot take that if you've had a transplant,
Okay.
or on any immunosuppressants, because of course now even with the autoimmune problems that you might be on some sort of they have shown it to be beneficial for the autoimmune problems.
Right.
So they have had the research on that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
What about the difference between herbs and herbal extracts?
Yes.
You hear about those all the time.
Well, let's go back to our old buddy tea.
Okay.
Everybody drinks iced tea, right?
Sure.
But there's a compound in there called ECGC, epigallocatechin gallate. You get enough of that, and it's actually a very beneficial antioxidant. They've shown, work on some of the research has shown it to be an anti-cancer compound. I mean, the research on it is just unbelievable. That is a specific extract of tea. So you can't drink enough tea
And it would
to
take
get
barrels of tea to get
Barrels.
enough of that to be medicinal.
Right.
And if you look at a lot of your research on herbs, I mean, when you really look at the medical research, and there are so much medical research, there's a place called PubMed. If you just type in PubMed, which is basically the National Institute of Health, so it's the United States database for any peer-reviewed journals. Anything in that has been actually in a peer-reviewed journal. It's not somebody's opinion. It's not somebody say, I used this once for this and it worked. It's nothing like that. You can go in and type in any herb, and it'll bring you up the research on it. And it's amazing how much these herbs, extracts, have been researched. Now, the herb by itself, a lot of times, in ground form, does not have the same properties because it's not strong enough.
Right.
So it's more about the concentration. Most, I can't say every one in our store, but most of our herbals are extracts.
Okay.
Because we use them for medicinal purposes.
Right.
And anytime you want a high enough amount to make a difference, and that's one of the things people say, oh, well, I went and got this at one of the big box stores, and it's way cheaper than that. Well, yeah, extracts cost a whole lot more because it might take, a 5-gallon bucket of that herb to make one bottle of an extract, to where it would make thousands of bottles of that ground up herb. So there's a big difference in extracts. And extracts do cost more, but extracts, if you're actually using them for a medicinal purpose and not just for kind of just to take, then you do want something that's
What
strong
kind of
enough to make.
conditions can they help?
Oh gosh,
You name it. I mean, literally, when she's back to where she was talking about PubMed. For instance, go to back, and it's PUBMED, PubMed. Go there and type in an herb, for instance, the green tea and that ECGC stuff and so on comes up. And you can look at that and you can say, that green tea / cancer. Yeah. And there's going to be tons of stuff.
There'll be a lot of stuff on colon cancer and skin cancer for that specific one. Huge amounts.
And look at the other things like the curcumins that come from the turmeric. Right. You'll see the things like for anti-inflammatories. So, gosh, I mean, anti-inflammatories. You mean if I've got arthritis, could that help? Yes.
Now I get constant questions. That's why I do want to mention that the curcumins.
Right.
People constantly say something about I want to take turmeric, but everybody just says they have curcumins. Well, curcumins is the active ingredient in turmeric. Turmeric by itself, if you just get the ground up spice that you cook with, it may have a speck of curcumin in it. Mm-hmm. Then you want an extracts have at least 50% curcumin. So the majority of what you're getting is the active ingredient, which is what makes it work. So when you get just plain, turmeric, it might not be that good, might not work that well. But when you get the curcumins, it does. And a lot of people don't realize that
it'll light you up real quick.
Yeah, but curcumin is the active ingredient out of that. And like silymarin. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It is the active ingredient in milk thistle. Okay. So like our product that we have on special this week, it is standardized for silymarin. And it'll actually tell you on the back that it's a standardization for, it has a certain amount of milligrams of silymarin because milk thistle by itself with no silymarin don't work. So that's what you have to look at is the active ingredients in them.
Right.
And so really the majority of what we have is all that we have is pharmaceutical grade.
Right.
Which means it actually has to be what the label says, and that's another problem with the herbals industry out there. There's been lots of stuff on Dateline and a lot of stuff in the news where they went in and tested herbal products. And I know one time they went and tested St. John's wort.
I remember that.
Yes. And
for your memory, supposedly.
Hypericin, no. St. John's wort's for depression.
For depression. I'm sorry. Right, depression.
What was the one for memory?
Which will help memory,
They went in, this has been quite a few years back, and they tested 10 St. John's worts. They just pulled off the counter at big box stores. 1 out of 10 had what it said on the label. So unfortunately, that's not very much, 10%. So when you buy something really cheap at the big box store that's just a ground herb, you really don't know what you're getting.
Wow.
So you do, if you're going to take something and you want to try to help a problem, you want to go with a standardized herb.
Okay. Well, we are about out of time. We will be back on Monday. Next Monday, Memorial Day, we'll be taking your calls about herbs or whatever health-related questions that you may have. So be sure you tune in then. Again, this program today was pre-recorded at an earlier date, but the doctors will be in, of course, this week, 10 till 5:30, Monday through Friday, 11 to 2 on Saturdays. There are Doctors Nutrition. Jim and Janine are there on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Dr. Mays is there on Friday, Wednesday and Friday. So anyway, but thank you again for being here with us this morning. And again, we will be back live next Monday morning, taking your calls, talking more about herbs and how they are beneficial to you. So have a great week. We'll see you then.